Are the corporate scalpers just as bad as the real scalpers, or are they worse? In this video, we'll find out. I'm Dennis Barger, 35-year veteran of selling toys, 30-year veteran of being the poster child for toy scalpers, and 21-year veteran of owning a store and dealing with corporations. I'm here to tell you, scalpers are a legitimate part of this industry. It's never going to change. But what has to change is the major corporations getting in on the scalping. Let me explain. Pokemon is the hottest property in the world. Every country has its own Pokemon corporation. Japan is actively trying to stop the scalpers from buying up all the product at the Pokemon centers all across Japan, and they're actively trying to fix this problem. However, Pokemon USA, I don't think is doing the job that they need to be doing to stop the scalping here in the US. 3 years ago, Pokemon USA set the SRP, the suggestive retail price of Pokemon packs, at $4 a pack. You could get an ETB like this for $40 almost everywhere. Many of the people who are directly sourcing their product from Pokemon USA have gone insane on their SRP. To name a few, GameStop. GameStop is pre-selling ETBs like this for $79.99. We sell it here in my store for $70 because we get it from a secondary wholesaler. GameStop is out of control. They are literally seeing a product that they used to sell for $39.99, $44.99 occasionally, and now they've doubled that price for pre-orders, and they have it sitting in almost every store they have. You know why? Because that's the price the scalpers were getting after they bought it from them at $40. And they thought they'd cut out the scalper middleman by just increasing the price. And guess what? The SRP, the wholesale price, did not increase. This is a UPC, the Ultra Premium Collection. This was the hallmark, the biggest item that most Pokemon fans wanted to buy. It came with 3 exclusive cards, lots of packs, a playmat, all kinds of stuff. This was a $179 retail price item that every Pokemon fan wanted when a set would drop. It's gotten out of control. GameStop is now charging between $400 and $600 for each one of these. And the SRP is still $179. But Pokemon USA wanted to get in on that too. And they want you to buy for the new 30th anniversary Pokemon celebration 2 different of these to achieve the same level. And now GameStop is going to go twice the SRP, 3 times the SRP, which means it's a lot more money for the fans. And only Pokemon USA could print this set into oblivion to make sure everyone gets something from this set. They're not doing that as far as we can tell. But let's talk about the packs. The packs is the basic entry point for everybody from little kids to adults that want to buy these to pull the rare cards, right? Well, these started at a $4 SRP 3 or 4 years ago, and then they moved to a $4.50. Now, that's not gouging prices. However, everybody that signed on with Pokemon USA to get this, we're talking Staples, we're talking Lowe's, we're talking so many different retail spots are now getting these packs, and they're putting them in their stores for $6. That kind of sets a higher expectation for these packs. I've been told some GameStops are at $8 a piece for these packs. So if GameStop and everybody else is charging $6 for these packs, game stores are harder pressed to not sell them at the $4 price that they're supposed to. They'll start selling them at the $6 base price, or maybe the $8 price, or maybe even $10 a piece if they have to buy the boxes at a higher price because Pokemon USA isn't giving me that product at wholesale. I mean, this is the biggest controversy right now. Pokemon is slowly creeping that price up. Everybody who's getting it is slowly creeping that price up. GameStop, one of their biggest sellers, is highly creeping that price up. And guys like me can't keep the prices as low as we want. But who else is doing it? Sadly, everybody. It kind of started with Hasbro about 6 or 7 years ago, when they were starting to look at the secondary prices of the stuff they were selling. They created something called Haslab. Before Haslab, Hasbro would have this great idea to make this awesome item that everybody would want. They made some of the coolest stuff ever. They call it the BMF Millennium Falcon. It's the biggest Falcon they ever made. It actually fit 4 people in the cockpit. They made this item and they charged $150 for it. And the fans were like, oh my God, I'm not going to pay $150 for that. So the stores that bought it had to clearance it. And then all the fans bought them up at clearance. Then the people who bought them at clearance decided to put them on at double, triple the price of the original retail. And they started getting it. It got to $500 a piece. Then the fans started screaming, Hasbro, Hasbro, please make more of these. How dare the scalpers get $400 or $500 a piece? So Hasbro's like, okay, guys, we're going to make another one, but you've got to buy it this time at retail. Oh, we will, we promise. Then they released them for $200 a piece on ToysRUs.com. And guess what? Nobody bought them. And then they went down to $125 to $100 a piece. Then everybody bought every single one of them. And then guess what? Within a year or two, they went to $300. They went to $400. They went to $500 again. And then they were screaming, Hasbro, Hasbro, you have to make this again. And then Hasbro's like, hold up a second. We've got to come up with some way to make you actually buy it before we actually make it. And then they came up with one of the best items they've ever made, Jabba's sail barge. And they said, this is the coolest thing we've ever made. And we're going to make you buy it a year in advance if you want it at all. And all the fans were up in arms. Hasbro, Hasbro, you should have made this for retail. I would have bought it if you'd put it at retail. And Hasbro's like, nah, Lucy. I'm not falling for the old football trick again. So guess what happened? Hasbro started this thing called Haslab. And Haslab set the Jabba's sail barge, I think 450, maybe closer to 500 with shipping and everything. So Haslab got 8,800 people to back this project. That's a drop in the bucket compared to how many Star Wars fans are out there. And I knew just as well as everybody else, this thing was going to be crazy. So I bought 5 of them, 1 for myself and 4 to sell. Well, I sold the first one for $1,000 to prove my point. I sold the second one for $1,500. I sold the third one for $2,000. I paid $2,500 for all 5 of mine, and I got $1,000, $2,500, $5,000. I doubled my profit, and I get to keep the last 2 for myself for more profit and to keep for myself. Well, guess what? Hasbro saw us make all that money, and then they started creeping that price even higher, and they started making smaller things for that $400. They got greedy. They tried to do a $400 Dodge Charger Ghost Rider figure. This is 1/5 the size of that Jabba sail barge, and they wanted to get the same price. Well, the fans started pushing back and saying, no, we're not going to pay that much for this little. They tried a Rancor for the same price and didn't even include a Rancor keeper. It failed as well. Corporations have to get spanked every once in a while to show them where they need to focus on. And I think Hasbro has slightly learned that lesson, but not entirely. But I'll tell you one thing that Hasbro does pay attention to. They pay attention to the secondary market. If they sell something for $15 and all the scalpers buy it up and it is all of a sudden going for $25 or $30 a piece, well, Hasbro wants that $30. So they're going to creep that price up. They're going to give you a couple extra items and still want to get that $30. Hasbro has taken the Marvel Legends, the G.I. Joe Classified, and even the Star Wars Black Series from a $15 to $20 SRP to upwards of $25 to $30 a piece for many of the figures coming out direct to their website. No retail, no wholesale purchase, no retail built-in profit margin. Just, we want $30 from the consumer for something we were charging $15 for 5 years ago. That is corporate scalping. Now let's look at Lego. Obviously, Lego's been in the news quite a lot lately, especially here on YouTube. But not for this reason, for other reasons. But Lego has been doing a lot of corporate scalping from a different angle. There's a website called Bricklinks. It was the #1 place for Lego fans and collectors to trade and buy and sell all of their Legos online. And it was setting the secondary market for a lot of these bricks and minifigs. And Lego saw how much the fans were buying these Lego mini bricks for and minifigs. And they said, why aren't we getting a piece of that? And then they just went right to the source and bought Bricklinks. So now the company that makes the product has now control over the secondary market for that by owning the website that buys and sells and trades this. It would be like if the US Mint decided that they wanted to buy the silver factories and the silver mines to control the amount of silver they put into their coins. It would be like if General Motors decided to buy Auto Trader so they could control the price of hubcaps. But it's not just that. When you control the secondary market for your product, as well as produce the product, then you get to see that the average figure price is slowly creeping up. Then you can make your sets slowly creep up. Then you can also control what figures you put to ruin that market. There was a giant Lego set that came with this one exclusive figure, and everybody was excited about it. And the figure was going for monstrous amounts of money. It was a little Captain Rex. And then they decided to put that Captain Rex in a $10 set 1 year later. It destroyed the secondary market on people who bought that giant Lego set to get that Captain Rex. And this is just the beginning. Some of the biggest, rarest sets of Star Wars Lego are all going to be reprinted during the 50th anniversary Star Wars Lego celebration all next year. Just watch. Those figures that were going for $10, $20, $30 a piece are going to be reprinted in a box, but those Lego figures are going to be valued higher in the SRP in those reprint boxes. Just watch. It's not just Pokemon and GameStop and Hasbro and Lego. Guys, this is going on all across. Look at Funko. I know I talked about it in a Funko video. You definitely want to check this out. Funkos, Beanie Babies, all that. And I said it then, and I'm still saying it. Funko is out of control. They produce a rare limited figure. They sell it for $40, $60, $80 a piece at San Diego Comic-Con. That's a $5 Funko that they usually sell wholesale for $5, and most people sell retail at $10. But guess what? They're also reprinting old Funkos that were worth money, because how dare the Funko collectors that gave them their hard-earned money be able to sell it for twice, 3 times, 10 times the value and maintain that price. So now they're reprinting $100 Funkos, slight variations to curb the demand and get a piece of that secondary market. But let's finish on one thing. Labubu. Labubu was a fad about a year ago. I first heard about it when my daughter and I were in Japan, and she wanted to buy a Labubu from the Pop Mart kiosk. She got it for the equivalent of $20 US in Japan. And all she said was Labubu about 20 times every day for the week we were over there. Oh, I got a Labubu. Wait, I can't find any more Labubus. Labubu, Labubu. Well, my Instagram heard this and kept showing me all the crazy people talking about Labubu online. By the time we came back, Labubu was a full-blown thing. It happened in literally a week in my world. This stupid Monchi-Chi knockoff was in everybody's feed. And then I kept seeing, oh, Labubu's got a line a mile long for the new drop. Labubu sold out at this place and caused a riot. This guy loves Labubus. This influencer loves Labubus. Labubu, Labubu. All I heard was Labubu. So I started buying some knockoff Labubus because I had a source that got good stuff from Chinatown. They called them Lafufus. We must have bought 10 dozen Lafufus, and we sold them for $15, $20 a piece all across my stores. Everybody wanted to have a Lafufu. They didn't care if it was the Labubu or the Lafufu. Sure, there were a couple snobs that had to have a Labubu. But during this time, and this is literally 3 months, honestly, guys, in the same time it took us to sell 10 dozen Lafufus was 4 months total from the beginning of the fad to the end of the fad. And I was like, no, I'm not going to buy any more of these. I think this fad is probably pretty close to over. And it was right around that time that the company that makes Labubus decided they were going to raise the SRP to combat scalping. They wanted to become scalpers themselves. I think the price was 50, might have been 40, but it was way more than 20 to 25, like it started 4 months earlier. Well, what happened with that? Well, I remember seeing an advertisement somewhere around November or December that the Lafufu guy lost $10 billion worth of his investment by the end of that year. It went from the hottest, most talked about collectible in April or May to the laughing stock of all the investment people in the news media. It literally flip-flopped. Unknown, hottest, absolute laughing stock. And now I haven't heard anyone say Labubu or Lafufu in the last 8 months. That's how easy it is for a corporation to become a scalper and then become irrelevant all in 1 year. So how do you combat it? Well, first of all, if you buy this type of product from GameStop at 2x or 3x what the Pokemon USA company says it's worth, you're an idiot. Stop. Don't give them the money. Do not feed that beast. If you go on Facebook and you buy one of these for $400 from a guy who waited in front of a Target for 2 days for the drop, and you give him the $400, you're feeding the beast. But not as bad as if you bought it from GameStop, because they shouldn't get 2x or 3x because some guy camped out and bought it. So why is this the Wild Wild West now? Well, thank the Supreme Court. They decided 19 years ago that there's no such thing as an MSRP. Well, the companies have basically paid attention to that and decided, well, we can raise the MSRP anyway, so it doesn't matter what the Wall Street Journal says. And then the corporations that feed off of those corporations have decided they can charge whatever they want. Only one person can decide to change this entire structure, and that's you. If you want to get these for $200 a piece, you gotta stop feeding the scalpers. You gotta stop feeding the corporate scalpers. If they don't have a place to sell it, they don't buy it, and then it's on the shelf for you to buy it. It's the only way. You have to starve all of the scalpers. So what happens when corporations scalp and scalp too much? Well, everyone runs out and chases them and buys every one of them. And then they buy even more of them. And then they buy even more of them. Then the fad crashes and they end up here. I bought all of these Princess Diana Beanie Babies for 50 cents or less a piece, and they all sit in my $5 3 for 10 bin. And people walk by and go, oh my God, I remember when that was rare. And then it becomes a nostalgia item that's only worth $5. And at one point, stores were selling these for $10. You are the only one who can combat it with your wallets. Don't open the wallet and pay a price that you don't think it's worth. You are the last line of defense against corporate scalping and corporate greed. What am I going to do? When the product is available, I buy it at a price I think it is. If I think I can sell it to the customer at a decent price, I'll carry it. If I don't think I can carry that product at a decent price, I just don't carry it and I'll focus on another aspect. This box is full of vintage and new. If the new gets too expensive to buy and stock, I'll just go back to the vintage and I'll just deal with the customers who love that product. But either way, I make the decision on what I spend my money on. You all need to as well. And to the corporations that made my list, You need to listen to the customers and stop being greedy. The secondary market is because you make a great product. It ceases to be there when you decide you want more money and more greed in your pocket than you do making the product. But what do I know? I'm Dennis Barger, celebrating the past and living for the future.